pinged it for you.
Okay, time to get airborne, Nightfall. Travel safe, team. Our power system analysis shows that the laboratory's analyzer is offline, due to the recent hurricane, no doubt.
Yes!
Nice and clean.
Está pronto. Who got to you first? Gataboom! A swarm is gathering. Everybody, make sure your gear's in good working order. Oh, I think I broke it. Marked it. I can be helpful now.
Quisiera uno de esos, por favor.
In 30 seconds, the pod will close.
Point your camera somewhere else. Reloading. You know what? You're kinda pussy! Still got it.
Stock up the pod while you can.
So easy.
Watch the floor! Oh, whoa! Okay, who's next?
Crank coming.
Bastante estrecho.
I'm reloading. Ole!
Está muerto.
Boludo.
to you first.
Time to restock.
Better be dead.
Seconds to the next wave.
Marked.
Floor, and I'm gonna rant about this, if that's all right. The biggest issue with Killing Floor 3 that is just grinding my gears is that it just feels incredibly early access. There's this is like kind of the last like final closed beta, and the game's supposed to be launching in like a month. And what they did for Killing Floor 2, which I wasn't into Killing Floor at the time when Killing Floor 2 came out, because Killing Floor 2 came out in like 2014. But I was aware of it. I knew what it was. I just had no interest in really playing it at the time. What they did with Killing Floor 2 is they basically had a base game that was like, I mean, it was a game. It worked, and it was not bad either. I think it was actually pretty solid from what I remember. But they released it early access, and then they used the early access like 6 months, a year in early access or whatever to refine it and make it better. And they did that, and the game came out, and people adored it for the most part. Like there was some people who were a little meh about it, but those were the people who but the people who were kind of mad about it were a lot of like the Killing Floor 1 diehards who just hated all change. But most people really, really like Killing Floor 2, and Killing Floor 2 grew to be really well loved, ignoring the latter half of the development cycle when Tripwire basically contracted the development out to somewhere else. That kind of damaged the game, I feel like, unfortunately, in some irreparable ways. But anyways, the point is that Killing Floor 2, they had a really good early access cycle. They did that whole process really well. People were upset about microtransactions being in the game already. If I remember correctly, people were mad there was a store in an early access game at the time. But it was still labeled as this early access. You'll keep all your crap and stuff. Like, you're not going to lose your... If you purchase stuff, you're not going to, like, lose it. It's just like, we're considering this early access because it's still got a ways to go. But it is a functioning game. The Killing Floor 3 is releasing without the early access tag. And I'm sure there's legal reasons for that and all that crap. But Killing Floor 3 is releasing without the early access tag, and it feels like it desperately needs it. Because this game is such a weird amalgamation of, some stuff feels super polished and super well made and super well done, and some stuff feels like, yeah, this needs another year in the modeling and animation team. And it is frustrating. because it just leads to this bizarre, like, limbo feel. That's really kind of, honestly, feels like a head scratcher. Like, it's... I think I've seen a number of videos getting posted on YouTube now of people saying a lot of similar things where, like, the game's just meh. Like, there's like... Initially, when the game was coming out, there was a massive, like, hate train for it. Because there was some changes that were being introduced or added, and people were, like, immediately like, sound the alarms, it's gonna suck. And I'm like, oh, we haven't actually played the game yet. I don't disagree that, like, a lot of what we're seeing is... I don't disagree with saying that a lot of what we're seeing is a, red flag, because a lot of it was red flags. A lot of it was like, well, this is obvious, like, I knew it was, like, I was, like, pretty much, like, I was like, this game's basically guaranteed. I was like, this game's pretty much guaranteed gonna have, a battle pass and a system like that. I don't know if some people just were under the impression it wasn't or what. But it was like, people were getting worried because they were seeing stuff like that. But then they introduced things where, like, they made the game, like, more of a... The games used to be, you got to pick your character, then you picked your class, and you went out and shot zombies. Now they made it more of a hero shooter, where the classes are tied to a specific character. Which, really, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that much of an issue. That's definitely kind of a weird thing for people to get, fired up over. But it was still kind of like... But my concern with that was... My biggest concern with that was, like... Killing Floor is known for having really cheesy, really corny, really stereotyped, and really over-the-top, goofy characters that you can pick from. And some of them can be really insufferable if you don't like that character. So I was concerned that they were going to make... That a couple of the characters were going to feel insufferable. And given that a lot of them look like DEI characters, they look like kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion characters... I was getting... What? Yes, exactly. I was concerned about that. I don't think... Playing the characters now, there still feels like the one white guy on the cast wears a gas mask the entire time, and he's the only returning character from a prior Killing Floor game. His name's Mr. Foster. So everyone, and the problem is, they didn't get the same voice actor for him. They got a voice actor that sounds like him. So it just doesn't feel like Mr. Foster. It's really annoying. Aside from that, though, a lot of the characters, like, I don't necessarily hate a lot of the character designs. But a lot of them look kind of bland. And I'm kind of a sucker for, like, tactical, mil-sim, you know, slightly futuristic milsim stuff. So I don't hate a lot of the aesthetics. Like the sniper class, like she is super stereotypical. This is 100 years in the future sniper look. But I don't think she looks bad, and I don't really. It seems like everyone kind of agrees she actually looks like a decent character.
Better be dead.
And I also haven't played all the characters now. I don't feel like any of the characters are like insufferably, unforgivably bad. Are you freaking kidding me, game? I don't feel like insufferable or anything like that. So, there's definitely... And playing all the other characters, like, in general, I'm like, okay, these characters aren't too bad, actually. At least so far. Maybe after playing each class for 15 hours or whatever, or trying to max level each class, if I buy the game and try and do that, I might be sick of some of their personalities. But in terms of, like, voice lines and behaviors and stuff, the characters, honestly, seem solid. The problem is, like, a lot of their visual designs, though, are just like, what the heck? Like, why is this a thing? And I kind of realized with playing and looking at a lot of the stuff, the reason the characters feel so trash and look so trash isn't because they lack character, and isn't because they're just a cardboard cutout either, because they really don't feel like cardboard cutouts. They've got more personality than that. But visually speaking, they're just a mannequin, because they're designed in such a way to where they can be customized up the wazoo with a bunch of battle pass cosmetics and other cosmetics you can purchase from the store. Killing Floor 2, the characters all had, like, very intentional design to them. And not that these characters don't have intentional design to them, but, like, a lot of these characters don't feel good or complete without getting extra cosmetics to customize them with. The Killing Floor 2 characters, you can just pick up the character and go. And I think that difference is very noticeable. Oh dear, it's the boss fight. I think that difference is very noticeable on a subconscious level, but not on like an actual like this is the problem level. So what results is everyone looks at these characters and these people are going, these characters suck. But it's like I don't think these characters necessarily suck, but I think that they don't look good and they don't feel good because they're lacking like basic things that characters should have to like really make them feel like a fleshed out character. That's kind of a working theory, and I'm having a really hard time. Oh, frick. Not this boss. I'm having a really hard time, like, putting my exact finger on it, but I keep going. I'm like, that's got to be a big part of the issues, because these characters, I don't feel like they're as good or anywhere near as fun as the Killing Floor 2 characters. I'm pretty sure the Killing Floor 2 characters were way more enjoyable just as a character. That said, they're not like insufferably, unforgivably bad either. They do feel like Apex Legends like characters though, and that's kind of annoying because a lot of the Apex Legends characters are fun because they've got a lot going on, but they're also kind of obnoxious and potentially insufferable because they've got a lot going on. So it's kind of a weird. Like in between spot there. Oh dear. But yeah, so like that's an issue that people had with the game. And when people started seeing that these characters look like Apex Legends like characters for the most part outside of Foster, and started just like looking like there's gonna be an issue and a problem, or like, and they're not gonna be an issue. When people realized like, oh, these look like Apex Legends like characters, and then they went to and then it kind of devolved even further from there, where it's like, not only do they look like Apex Legends-like characters, but that probably that really looks like they're going to be going a hero shooter route. That probably means we're going to wind up with like stuff's going to go in a very modern game direction, which was kind of inevitable, but still kind of sucks to see happen. That definitely got a lot of people really fired up and really worried, and really got them onto the hate train. So a lot of people were like, "Come on, guys, the game hasn't even come out yet. Quit being so ridiculous. You can't make a judgment call like that until you actually like play the game." Which I agree with that, but I also don't disagree with the criticisms of I don't know if I like the direction this is going. And I'm worried. I was kind of in the middle. You had like, so essentially what you ended up with the community being like, not 50-50 split by any means, but with the community being split pretty heavily. Either give the game a chance, I'm excited for it, or the game's gonna suck. It was kind of like one or the other, and there was not really any discourse happening. I think really the silent majority was people like me who were like, alright, I have concerns, but I'm not like giving up yet. Now actually getting to play the beta, I'm very much in the, I'm like, yeah, that was, oh, frick, am I dead? Oh, I'm not dead somehow. I don't know how I'm not dead, but I'm not complaining. Having gotten to play the game now for a good chunk of time and use all the classes, I'm definitely getting a much better feel for a lot of the concerns that people were complaining about were very accurate, which I'm not surprised by necessarily, but it's also nowhere near as bad as that crowd was saying, because that crowd was going like, not only is this game gonna suck from a oh, freaking A. Suck from a cosmetic and modern game and all that crap perspective, but they're saying that it's like the game's gonna suck from a cooldown perspective as well. Or not cooldown, goodness, sorry, I read the word cooldown on my screen and it screwed me up. Yeah. Not only is this game gonna suck from a, What was I gonna... Blah, 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 blah. I don't... Well, not only is this game gonna suck from, like, a monetization and, custom cosmetics and all this crap perspective, and, like, the characters just feeling sucky, but then they were also going so far as to say this game's gonna suck on a, this game's gonna suck on a mechanics level. They were saying this game's gonna be awful in that way. And I'm like, I didn't really buy that. Because I was looking at, like, a lot of the stuff they were putting, like, Tripwire was putting out for, like, new Zed redesigns, which is the zombies, like, new Zed designs, stuff like that. And I was like, these designs look awesome. And, like, a lot of the, like, mechanically what I'm seeing is really cool. I was really worried about the guns, though. And not just me, but a lot of other people. We were all very worried about the guns. And like, in some ways, the guns are a lot better than I expected. In other ways, they're lacking something. Oh, it's like, I won't deviate too far into that, at least at the moment. But, yeah, it's such a weird... It's just, playing this game feels so weird, because, like, the Zeds feel great. For the most part. There are issues with the gameplay loop that I'm noticing having played a lot now. But the Zeds feel pretty good for the most part. The actual core gameplay loop is still intact. Which is good. I'm very happy about that. The core gameplay loop, still intact, still functioning, all that jazz. It's still working, that's great. And that's really kind of the most important part, but the second most important part is good gunplay. Some of the guns feel pretty good. The problem with all the guns is that they're all, like, sci-fi abominations, and I don't use that completely pejoratively. It's just like, this is obviously a... What? Well, it's like... I mean, yes, I did play Vanu, but, like, PlanetSide 2 is a sci-fi game, too, though. Like, a lot of these guns I would liken more to, like, a TR or NC gun, where it's like, you look at it and go, ah, yes, I can see how this was a real firearm 1,000 years ago. Can I not... Hold up. Can I seriously not upgrade my skill tree during... Oh, that's annoying. I can't do that while queuing. I guess I have to leave. The problem with a lot of these guns is these guns are like, ah, yes, they look real. They look believable, for the most part. The guns that don't look believable feel like trash, unless it's like a high-level railgun-esque gun, and then they feel pretty good. The railgun sci-fi guns feel pretty good, but, like, they've got some other weird guns that just feel like crap. Maybe, okay, that's a little strong. I will give them this. Even the ones that I would label as crap guns for Killing Floor are like an average gun for most other games. Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, there's a lot. I saw a comment under a YouTube video a little bit ago that was kind of making a comment of like, man, imagine this dev team making the next Red Orchestra game. And it's or Rising Storm game or whatever, whichever game they made. And I was like, ugh. Yeah, it was Rising Storm. I was like, ugh, that's, ugh. Nope, we never did play it together. That, I wasn't like super interested in it's like one of those things. I'm interested in trying it, but not like super duper interested in trying it kind of thing. But I forget that you actually have experience with like Tripwire gunplay. At least the good era of Tripwire gunplay. The guns still feel pretty good, but the problem is that since they're all of these like pretty obvious like either like sci-fi souped up versions of guns, or they're like, ah, yes, we took this type of gun and then we added a bunch of crap to it and a bunch of weird functioning features on it, or like changed a bunch of parts to make it look sci-fi-y, and now it's like vaguely reminiscent of like a semi-auto rifle or something like that. But it's like, it just doesn't feel quite right. Like there is some like, it's something that, it's like the guns don't necessarily really look terrible or that bad, and some even look pretty good, if not really good. And for some of them, in my opinion, it's like, it's just the design levels are all over the board for the guns. And then the problem is, since most of them don't feel super grounded, they don't feel very good. Like, they don't feel bad, and they actually, like, and given how weird they look, they probably feel as good as they can with how weird they look. But because there's that lack of realism, it kind of just takes the wind out of, completely just gasses a lot of stuff, I feel like. And it's just, there's just something weird about it. Somebody made a comment, and I don't know if it's true, because I will admit, a lot of the animations look really good. A lot of them do look really good, but there seems to be some lack of polish to some, if not all of them, that just makes it, or maybe not all, but some if not most of them, there seems to be some weird lack of polish to them. That's just like, why does this just feel not quite right? And I think somebody made a comment that, like, Killing Floor 2, they mocapped, like, all of the guns. At least all of the guns in the game at launch. They mocapped, like, all of them. And all the weird animations and stuff. So they feel good, they look good. Everything about them is just top tier. I'm wondering if they didn't do mocap for this game. Because because I think what's happening is that the animations do look good, and some look phenomenal. Some also look like trash, but admittedly, the ones that look like trash is a very small minority. Most of them at least look good. But I think what's happening is that since they probably weren't mocapped, or if they were mocapped, the way that's been implemented, it's just giving a slight uncanny valley effect that is just bugging people. And we just don't know how to deal with it. Because it's just like, well, we just need to deal with it, I guess, and just suffer through it. But it's just like, something isn't clicking. And maybe it's the animations aren't right, or maybe the animations would be totally fine. But the fact that the gun doesn't look right is causing us to notice things that we normally wouldn't. It's just something's weird with it, and it's frustrating. And unfortunately, and kind of like that feeling, this weird, you know what Uncanny Valley is, right? Yeah, it's like this weird Uncanny Valley effect is just permeating the game. Well, yeah. So I'm using Uncanny Valley here, not in the way of like, this robot is this a human or a robot? It's so close. Kind of like this, yeah. I, well, let me, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna be very self-serving and send you my stream link. These guys want me to. Yeah, I'm like, don't want to be that way. But but really, it's not that, like, it's the entire game feels like an Uncanny Valley effect almost to prior Killing Floor games. It doesn't feel like a bigger, badder sequel in a lot of ways. It feels like this weird imitation. That's like, it's almost, it almost had, it's like, it's got this weird feeling of like, it's still Killing Floor, but it's kind of a husk of Killing Floor at the same time. Like, it feels like it's like wearing the flesh. It's wearing the flesh of Killing Floor and puppeting itself around. It is. Yeah. Well, and like, I think a lot of other people were kind of feeling that way watching some things, which I understood, and that they were saying this is just a cash grab. And I'm like, it's been 10 years since Killing Floor 2 came out. I genuinely want a sequel. There's a lot of cool things that they could do, I feel like, to make it go beyond a cash grab. Sorry, I'm staring at a menu at the moment, so it's not going to be really interesting. But the 10% increased damage to Oh yeah, it's way behind. You should probably just mute it. Oh dear. Oh yeah, I'm aware. That's part of the reason I'm trying. That's. I mean, yeah, that's part of the reason I'm trying to do streaming stuff is because I'm good at ranting and I'm good at rambling, and I'm like, you know what? I either ramble to myself a lot, or I unfortunately ramble to my friends a lot, and I am realizing more and more and more that, well, yeah, sure, I could get paid for this, but it's really a case of, I think I need a vent. I need a vent for all of this stuff because I'm using my friends as vents, and that's incredibly draining for them. For me, it's rejuvenating, but for them, it's just like they're just getting hit with this fire hose of stuff, and I'm like, this isn't really beneficial to them. I think for a little bit it's fine, but then after after the 90-minute mark, it's like after the 30-minute mark of me just ranting about Killing Floor, everyone's gonna be like, I really, really don't care anymore. I didn't care at the 5-minute mark, and I don't give a rip anymore. It's kind of where it's at. So I'm like, I don't want to be exhausting the audience. So I'm kind of like exhausting my friends, essentially, to the point where they don't really want to talk with me. So I'm trying to find ways to vent better. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Not that that's like super. Not that that's not a mess, anyways. But trying to think. Very good. Actually, I need to drink some water. I'll be back in a minute. Who? What? No, you're good. I vaguely remember what I'm talking about, and I can just pick up and keep going. But yeah, I'll be back in a minute. What's up?
Vito's here. We good to go? Safe travels, Nightfall.
Our power system analysis shows that the laboratory's analyzer is offline, due to the recent hurricane, no doubt.
That was textbook perfect.
Voy a vomitar. Callémonos. Pamela.
I marked the map.
Favor de no grabar.
Might look into refilling your ammo while the pod's open.
Thanks.
Puta madre, detesto las cámaras.
Landing those headshots like a pro.
¡Qué doloroso! ¡Qué doloroso! Anybody have an extinguisher?
Missiles away. What do you want?
¡Cobarde!
closed. Scrape spotted.
¡Mano fuera!
Very accurate.
¿Listo? About to lock up.
I don't miss.
Wave defeated.
Locking the area. Setting up the lock. Déjame recargar.
Perseverance.
Good news. The pod's now open.
Noise pollution. Me alegraste el día. Okay, zipline is ready. Zipline's ready. Let's ride.
Hope you're done shopping.
Very good done.
Soquete.
Adiós, gordito.
Flesh pound on the way.
Momento, reloading.
Salí de aquí.
Estoy envenenada.
Quema, quema. Un segundo. I'm reloading.
Outstanding work taking down the flesh pound.
Got the zip line up. We have access to armor.
Pretty bad fire.
Get all your gear?
Me siento lenta.
ganas de vomitar. Tanto humo que apenas puedo ver. Estoy desangrando.
System analysis shows that the laboratory's analyzer is offline due to the recent hurricane, no doubt.
not break out the champagne just yet.
Ping something for you. It's marked. Che, ¿qué tal? Asshole.
That's the way. Put her down. He's the hero.
Volá, volá, volá.
Got it. Got that.
Te saco los ojos. Necesito recargar. I'll leave it for the voice.
Wave completed.
I pinged it.
Stuff is but yeah, I've been kind of thinking on because you were talking about the railgun looking weird, and my brain's kind of been stewing on that. Let's see. So like, yeah, if I go over to like this looks kind of like a Mark 14 kind of. I'm realizing it handles kind of like a Mark 14 in prior Killing Floor games has. But like this is like what all the guns look like, which you'll see. I guess it's a little bit lacking, but you'll see it in a minute in the stream pop up. And it's like they all just look. They don't look necessarily terrible, but they all just look like very sci-fi-y. That's just, and it's just there's just a weird feel to them. But something else you said about the railgun, where it's like a lot of the like it feels like there's a lot of like I don't know exactly what you said, but my brain basically interpreted it as it feels like there's a lot of hoopla for not very much effect. Does that sound kind of right? I noticed that I have noticed that, and that is one of my complaints about the gameplay loop this game has, is this game has a lot of the redesigns they did for the Zeds is really cool and is really solid and really, really fun, but there is issues with them, and part of that is what they did is they took tanky enemies from prior games and made some of them way tankier. And that's not really a good thing. So this guy that's sprinting at me right now with a chainsaw on his arm, he is like, I could be wrong, but he seems just way more armored than he ever was in the past. Yeah. The thing is, this guy... So what's funny about this... So this is called a Scrake that I'm looking at. The Scrake is...
Barring the entrance.
The Scrake is actually like a bullet sponge. Because the way you kill it in past games is you shoot it with lots of bullets. Scrakes are like resistant to... If I remember correctly, and I guess I could be wrong, but what I remember is Scrakes are... They are resistant to bullets. Not rephrase. Scrakes are resistant to, because they're not armored. They were just like big, scary monsters. They were like a big, hulking, scary zombie, or Zed, not a zombie, but scary Zed walking towards you with a chainsaw in their arm. The way you killed them was you shot them with lots of bullets. Primarily in the head. You wanted to chain together a bunch of headshots, just one after the other. But because they were unarmored, bullets were really effective. And I think there's like probably some lore of like, and since they're fleshy, explosives are less effective because like the fleshiness will just absorb the explosion or something like that. That's my like internal lore for that. Trying to think. Because of, and so that was kind of the way you dealt with them was you would shoot them down. The Scrake redesign they did has a problem where the Scrakes, at least, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Scrakes are way more armored than they were in the past. So all of a sudden, they went from being a intentional bullet sponge that was really fun to fight because it's like, oh hey, I just sit here and just gun them down with like an SMG or something. It's like I'm literally supposed to make dump them, but it's satisfying. Now they feel really armored up. And all of a sudden it's like, how the frick do I deal with this? And the way you end up dealing with it is you just shoot them a lot, but it's not satisfying anymore because it feels like you're just shooting armor the entire time. And that's really frustrating. Conversely, there's also been a armored meat bullet sponge, kind of armored tank in the game called the Flesh Pound. And the Flesh Pound is also in this game. And the Flesh Pound in this game, armor-wise, I think the Flesh Pound does feel more armored than it has in the past. I do feel like the Flesh Pound is more durable than it was in the past, which is frustrating, because the old Flesh Pounds were definitely like right on the line of I hate these guys so much and they're not fun to fight, and I hate these guys so much they're a really fun challenge. I feel like they might have in the effort to make the Zeds bigger and badder and scarier, I feel like they might have juiced them a little too much to where they're kind of unsatisfying to fight. I haven't fought them enough, and I certainly haven't gotten leveled up enough to know whether or not that's true. Flesh Pounds are definitely supposed to be like, oh, you're not playing the leveled up class with a bunch of extra special abilities? yeah, you're screwed, kind of thing. Like, you have to play perfectly if you want. Like, that is a flesh pound that you'll see that I'm staring at. Well, you'll see it in a little bit. The flesh pounds are the ones with spinny arms, though, and crap like that. They, then the chainsaw's a Scrake. Now, what happens is, because they made the flesh pound, because they made the Scrake feel super heavily armored, it feels like the flesh pound and the Scrake kind of feel the same.
Now.
They feel different niches within the same category of armored enemy walking at you. Which is kind of a shame, because now there's not a niche where you shoot something a lot and it's satisfying. Like the niche that the Scrake used to fill is just gone, and instead it's kind of like the Scrake and the flesh pound fill the same subgroup. Just like they fill their own like sub niche within a niche, I guess, for how an enemy's supposed to operate, which is really frustrating, because it kind of leads to kind of an unsatisfying feeling of enemy variety, I guess, is how I put it. And that's a bummer.
I set up the zip line. Who could use some armor?
Sorry, I'm thinking.
We got backup.
And because of that, it leads to like the gameplay loop feeling less, but it also leads to a lot of the guns feeling kind of unsatisfying, because you're sitting there going, "Man, I'm shooting this thing over and over again, and I'm getting nowhere." And they're supposed to be that. Like, those type of enemies are supposed to be you shoot them over and over again, and you're getting nowhere. Like, that's how they're supposed to feel. And these enemies are supposed to be they're only scary in massive numbers, or because they're really fast, kind of thing. The problem is they also, it's like, this game is really, the balancing it's kind of weird. They definitely increase the power of the player with, like, a lot of these guns feel a lot stronger. There's also a lot less guns overall, but the guns in general, I think, feel a lot stronger. So, of course, they would have to increase the difficulty of the flesh pounds and Scrakes to make sure you don't just mow through them. But it doesn't really feel like they increase the difficulty of the bare basic grunts, which are called cysts and clots. It doesn't feel like they really increase their difficulty at all. Which is fine. Honestly, they don't need to. I don't want them to turn everything into a bullet sponge or into like some highly lethal thing. Like, the little guys definitely. I like a sidebar within like another sidebar, but I feel like the oh dear. I feel like the reworks on the little guys feel awesome. Some of the reworks on the little guys are just cosmetics, but like for crawlers, they made crawlers crawl on the walls at least a little bit. Honestly, I wish crawlers did more crawling on the wall than they do. Crawlers still seem to primarily crawl on the ground, which feels very disappointing compared to what they were advertised as. But aside from that, the crawler rework feels really good. For the most part. Their design's a little goofy, but aside from their design being goofy, I think their rework is like a phenomenal rework. I think the cyst rework is awesome. I think the clot rework is also pretty good. I think, if I remember correctly, I think the cyst rework, they made them so they could shoot projectiles, I believe. No, wait, or is that... I get the little guys mixed up in terms of names. But for the most part, I feel like the cyst and clot reworks, visually phenomenal, mechanically really fun. The issue is when we start getting into like the middle tier stuff. So the fire guys that keep lighting me on fire are called Husks. Their rework so far seems awesome. Actually, I adore that rework so far. They seem really cool. That being said, it is kind of annoying with them being so aggressive is a little annoying. I kind of wish they had like, I wish they had kind of a combination of like old husks in the game and new husks in the game. I feel like that would be a really nice middle way of doing it. Instead of scrapping the old gameplay loop, the niche they filled, keeping that around, and also freaking flesh pounds. Keeping the old niche around while also adding the new ones, I think would have been great. But overall, husks are the ones that need that the least, I feel like. But then we get to the sirens. Sirens are kind of a disappointment. Because sirens, they made them way scarier and bigger. Like, they made them way scarier and way more lethal. Which, that's awesome. I have no problem with that. The problem with the siren rework is it totally changed how the sirens play. They just don't feel right anymore. They're either like... if they get close to you, they're terrifying. But it is, like, so hard for a siren to get close to you. Because the counterbalance them being way scarier now. They made it so that really, game? Oh, frick. Sorry, I'm trying not to lose. Instead of making the sirens, instead of making the sirens bigger and scarier, holy crap, that was close. Which they did. Oh, it is. You might, yeah, it is. I turned my voice back on. Oh. You're about 10 seconds behind, so there's not as much of a delay as I think you think there is.
If you need armor, I got it.
I think I said, whoa, that was close after I beat the wave. I think it...
Syringe, anyone?
Oh, yeah.
One of everything.
No. It's like... I think the stream's only like 10 seconds behind, so like... So like it's pretty close overall. Okay, I might regret. Oh frick. I guess I'll grab this one. Okay, I guess I don't regret keeping the high rate of fire gun, because this thing is obnoxious. One thing I really hate that they changed in this game, and I don't hate it actually, it's just that it leads to frustrating moments, is Killing Floor used to have a recharging heal system. So you would be every like 20 seconds or whatever, you could heal yourself. They made it now to where they changed it to where now you can only heal you can only carry 3 syringes, and if you want to be able to heal, you either have to have a medic on your team. You either have to have a medic on your team, or you have to buy a bunch of med kits and put them down, and then they limit how many med kits you can buy. Which is fine, but also a little obnoxious. Reload. Got it. This boss is obnoxious. Oh, come on. So I lost the last boss fight because I didn't have, because I ran out of heals and I forgot to buy med kits. Or I didn't forget to buy, I didn't want to sacrifice my special tool. The tool system and managing in this game is also kind of jank. workable, but jank. No. Anyways, with the reworks, it was like most of the a lot of the rework visually the reworks are great, but mechanically the reworks are running into some issues. Really, what I think they need to do is I think the Skrakes, instead of the Skrakes being these just like massive like armored creatures now, the Skrakes really need to be. They need to have two types of Skrakes. They need to have the new Skrakes that are great and fill a really cool gameplay role that like has never really been filled before. But they also need the old Skrakes to fill the old role still. Same thing with Flesh Pounds, is the new Flesh Pounds are great, but actually in some ways the new Flesh Pounds are way harder than the old Flesh Pounds were. But in other ways, they also feel way easier because they seem to miss a lot because they're a new type of attack. Instead of just literally running at you like a meat grinder, because that's how the Skrakes used to be, is they would run at you like a meat grinder and just chew you up when they got to you. Now Skrakes like stop and try and like basically use their arms like whips to hit you, which is really cool and sometimes is utterly terrifying, but other times it makes them miss. Which I'm glad, because if they were hitting me, I'd be dead. So it kind of works out, but it's like it works out, but it feels kind of bad at the same time, which is frustrating. The Sirens is a really bad one because the Sirens, like I said, like I was saying, they completely changed their niche. Like, completely changed their niche from what they were. Sirens used to be like a mid-level threat that were obnoxious. They could absolutely ruin a run. They could absolutely destroy you. But they also... weren't like this massive thing that needed to be like heavily balanced around. You could kill them pretty easily if you knew what you were doing and where to shoot. And they also, Sirens also used to have the niche of you'd be fighting a bunch of zombies or Zeds, and then you'd walk into, and then they'd walk into the middle of your fight and just ruin your day. But like, they would kill you straight up, but they would make your life less than exciting. They'd make you very upset that they were there. Now, the new Sirens are super slow. It takes forever for them to attack because their new attack is so amped up compared to their old attack that they're like, well, we can't just like... They're like, the devs are like, well, we can't just have these walking into the middle of a Zed fight and completely destroying the player. Like, that's a terrible idea. And it is a terrible idea, and I'm glad they changed it. But really what they needed to do is they needed to make the new type of Siren as like an Alpha Siren, and then leave the old Sirens in. And that is kind of how I feel about a lot of the redesigns, is a lot of the redesigns are great, but they're like, it should have been these are phenomenal redesigns, and we still have the old ones, old types of zombies around. Because now what's happened with the gameplay loop is, you end up with these guns that feel, in a lot of ways, feel way overjuiced compared to the old Killing Floor guns. And in a lot of ways are overjuiced, but then the result is, you feel like you're kind of getting a lot of hoopla for nothing, because like, oh, I just shot this Skrake 20 times with this railgun and it's done nothing. When it used to be that 5 shots with the railgun killed the Skrake, which was a lot of shots. Like, it's one of those things like, hey, it's the old Skrakes were tanks and now they're even tankier, which is frustrating. And it's just like, gameplay loop is just, bleh, it's kind of just thrown weirdly. It's very top. It's either you kill stuff in one shot, or it's everything just kill stuff in one shot, or stuff doesn't die. And that's really kind of the end of that. You gotta hop off? You're hopping off? Balls. Yeah, well. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going in, yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I've been going in. I've been trying to get through this thing because I've been just going in circles because I've been overly thinking because unfortunately I'm not at a point where I can play Killing Floor and really not... I can cycle a little bit, but not anywhere near as bad. Since I don't really know this game as well, I definitely go in loops more than I do playing other games. Are you freaking kidding me? Okay, that was hilarious. But yeah. What's up? I mean, it doesn't feel great, but it's more because I feel bad that I've been talking in circles a lot. Oh, are you freaking kidding me? Well, I'm more just frustrated. Really what happens when this happens is I feel frustrated that I wasn't able to get the point across quicker. And part of the reason I'm trying to, like, write up a script is because, like, I have a lot of stuff I want to say, but I want to figure out a way to say it succinctly, because I can't say a lot of this stuff succinctly. This is me just noodling through it, and I've thought about a lot of it. Give me my heals, game. Yeah, but really there's nothing, really the whole point that I'm trying to make with what I was ranting about there is they changed a lot of the enemy designs. The enemy redesigns are good. I don't have any, like, serious qualms with the changes. Why am I taking so much freaking damage compared to what I did last time? But there is a pretty serious problem of the gameplay loop feels off because they amped a lot of power levels to make it bigger and badder, but it's not equally spread. And this entire issue goes back to what I was saying forever ago. This game feels like it's early access, and it's about to release. This entire thing is... Killing Floor 2 worked because when it came out, everyone's like, this is early access. They're changing stuff. We are testing stuff. We are figuring out what needs to get improved, what needs to get tweaked, what needs to get changed, stuff like that. So they could get a refined gameplay loop. This, I'm afraid, is never going to get a gameplay loop redesign. And it needs it. It needs it, or it needs more enemies. I'm not going to go back into the ranting about the enemy design outside of one thing where the other past Killing Floor games, they've always had another type. Killing Floor 3 is currently missing one very important type of enemy, and it's the Stalkers. Killing Floor 3 just straight up doesn't have Stalkers. Killing Floor 1 and 2, Stalkers were an integral part of the kind of the gameplay loop and, like, what you would get and what you'd have to fight. And they fill a niche. And that niche is, they feel like they're kind of like a medium tier light enemy. This game doesn't really have that. And it's very obvious that the enemies that used to fill that niche don't anymore. And one of the most important enemy types to have filling that niche isn't here. And that's a problem. And it leads to a weird feeling. But yeah, so... And the gameplay loop just feels jacked up because of that. And like I said, it's like, this needs to be an early access game, not a thing. Kind of, oh, are you freaking kidding me? What? Seriously? You can't walk over these things? That's not obnoxious at all. I'm gonna die again because of this. I hate this.
Hunter becomes the hunted.
But, yeah, so they've done stuff like that. And that gameplay loop thing, it's like, the gameplay doesn't feel bad, but it doesn't feel finished. There's a problem there. Same thing, and then kind of, so reeling back, kind of going backwards to this game feels like an early access game kind of thing. Going back even further, a lot of people thought this game was going to suck based off of a handful of, like, cosmetic things and monetization things and stuff like that. Because they're looking at this goes, it's going to be a soulless cash grab. There's not going to be any good thing here. The gameplay's obviously going to suck because the monetization's going to suck because the aesthetic sucks, all that stuff. And I think most of us were kind of, I think the silent majority was, no, this game isn't is like, well, let's just wait and see, because we can't speak on the gameplay until we actually get to play the game. Now that we've got to play the game, I'm seeing an overwhelming consensus in my YouTube feed of other people making their own little reviews, like I'm thinking about trying to do. And everyone is like, this game is really mid. Or really meh. Or it feels unfinished. Or something just doesn't feel right. Like the entire community is lockstep on something's not right here. And it is amusing to observe, to say the least. Because we're all just sitting here going, what the frick? Why does this just not feel right? That's kind of like the overall thing. So I'm working through it, I'm noodling through it, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, it's like, and I think, and like I kind of what I was talking about earlier, I'm getting a serious Uncanny Valley effect of, it feels like I'm playing a Killing Floor game. Everything is telling me I should be playing a Killing Floor game.
Shows that the laboratory's analyzer is offline.
But for some reason, something just isn't quite right. And it's like, I think it's just like, really, it's just a combination of the aesthetics are just not there. Killing Floor is known for being a grindhouse style game. Killing Floor 2 was making it more of a grindhouse plus a little bit of sci-fi. This is just straight up sci-fi. Most of the grindhouse is kind of gone, unfortunately. So that's a problem that's a problem, but overcomeable if other issues are there. But then you get to, well, is the gunplay there? Well, the gunplay's mostly there. Okay, well, that's not a problem if everything else is rock solid. Well, the aesthetic's not rock solid, so, that's a problem. You're gonna start noticing the gunplay not feeling right. Well, the gameplay, like, the Zeds feel really good, but something's missing. So the Zeds are like 90% of the way there, but not quite right there. And so the gameplay loop is almost there, but not quite. And then you combine that with the guns most of the guns feel good, at least. Some of the guns feel great. Some of the guns feel meh. That's not terrible, but it's also not great, because, it's a Killing Floor game. Like, that's supposed to be like a 10 out of 10. And if it's at a 9 out of 10, that's a problem. Because Killing Floor games don't have really much else to rely on. They've got a great gameplay loop, they've got a great gunplay loop, and they've got a great aesthetic. All of those are really feeling unpolished or unfinished or really meh. And all of that is coalescing to this game just feeling almost there, but not quite there, and it is driving the entire game community up a wall. I think that kind of succinctly ends what I was trying to, my entire rant. Yeah, like, a lot of it is, like, autistic details on, like, this enemy is supposed to handle this way, and they're not handling this way. That's a problem. That got it. Some of it is, this game is just obviously unpolished in this area, and that is causing other issues. Yeah, well, so that's got me really concerned. So this is obviously a games as a service type of game. Like, Killing Floor 2 was an old school games as a service type of game. Where, by old school, I mean it was a games as a service style game that used cosmetic transactions and weapons DLC to, like, kind of fund the future gameplay loops. Oh, it's sold out? Shoot. Okay, well, I know what I need to open then. Killing Floor, so that's the old style. Oh, sorry. It's got CSGO, it had CSGO type crates, and it had, and eventually, like, years down the road, it introduced a weapons pass, so you'd get the new weapons, or you could just individually buy the new weapons, but that was way down the road. Initially, it was You'd buy loot boxes, CS:GO style, and you'd earn loot crates CS:GO style, and then you'd buy keys to open them. Sorry, my brain's having a moment. I'm trying to remember what else they did for cosmetic. Well, then they had like a store where you could just buy cosmetic bundles straight up that you couldn't get in loot crates. And that was their monetization for Killing Floor 2. Killing Floor, and that was, you know, that was the mid-2000s style games as a service. The good old days. Everyone complained about loot boxes back then too, which I think is kind of funny, looking at the abominations we have now.
Not my tag.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. It's very similar feel of founding fathers complaining about taxes and then it just getting even worse and worse. Although, yeah, I think it gets the feel across quite well. Because now, games as a service are, hey, you want a battle pass? Hey, you want an unfinished game at launch? You want a game that's super bare bones, that obviously needs like another year in the oven? It needs like, that obviously needs way more content? Congratulate, it's like, you'll get that as like a seasonal update with a battle pass and with an in-game store with $20 skins. I don't know if this game has $20 skins, but it does have a battle pass and it does have seasons. And I know that they have a year's worth of battle passes planned because they were advertising them. Oh dear. Because they were advertising them as, like, if you buy the Super Ultra Deluxe Edition, you get all 4 of the year, you get the first 4 battle passes free, which are very likely going to, you know, equate to exactly a year's worth of content. And then I imagine the stalkers are going to be, imagine what happened is the stalkers, they're having a problem implementing stalkers in a way they liked it and the way they wanted to in Unreal Engine 5. And so, instead of going, you know what, we need another 6 months to get the stalkers in it, they're like, we'll make the stalkers the Season 1 enemy that we add. I'm sure is what's happening. So that way, they can use a new enemy type as extra marketing. Yep, sounds like modern gaming. I'm trying to think. And that's frustrating. I'm trying to remember what you said exactly that set me off on this. Ooh, it's a siren. Yeah, well that was me complaining. That's when I got on my super autistic rant about enemy design and about how the enemy redesigns, making stuff more tanky, so big damaging weapons don't feel very damaging against them. But those same weapons will like one-shot medium tier weapons. And I guess also in defense of that, Killing Floor has always sort of had that aesthetic where it's like you could shoot a flesh pound with a railgun 10 times, but if you didn't hit the crit point, it's going to do nothing to it. Killing Floor 2 had that problem, so like it's not just a Killing Floor 3 thing, but it's exacerbated with the redesign. I'm trying to remember what you said mid-tier though. It was something about you said something about monetization that set me off on the monetization rant, and I'm trying to remember what it was. No, that was a joke you made halfway through the conversation. You made the taxation joke halfway through there, which again, I think it's very applicable. Oh, no. What you asked about if you think it's going to get supported. And so step one in my brain went, my brain went, all right, he asked if this game's going to be supported. Step 1, address the monetization. Step 2, address the actual content updates. Yeah, so yeah, I mostly answered it. Really, it's like, I think what's going to happen is, will this game get supported? Unless it absolutely tanks, yes. It is currently planned to be supported for at least a year, assuming seasons are 3 months apiece. So Yeah. So, do I think that the community... I'm kind of repeating it just so I can frame it in my head, partially for stream stuff. Do I think that the community is just going to shoot itself in the foot, completely revolt against the game? The game is just going to be DOA, essentially? Dead on arrival? I don't think it's so... This game has a lot of hype around it right now. I actually think it will have a successful launch. I do think it'll have a successful launch, especially with people who are more casual fans of Killing Floor, and people who, oh crap. Especially with people who are more casual fans of Killing Floor, and people who are new to Killing Floor, just period. I think they will like this game. I genuinely think they will. I think that they're going to look at this game and go, this is really fun. We don't mind all these changes that all the old heads and veterans are complaining about. That's their problem. And I've seen a couple reviews actually say that, especially people who've had longer access than us, than like the broader community. A lot of them have just been like, well, I understand why. Well, a lot of them I think have just been, you guys are being dumb. One of the reviews I watched was like, I understand why you guys are upset, but I also, as a new person to Killing Floor, I think this game is really fun, and I think this game is really fun, and I think I'm going to play this game, and I'm excited for this game to come out. What I'm concerned about is, there is going to be, I think there's going to be a sizable, I don't think it'll be the majority, but I think it'll be a sizable amount of the Killing Floor community will just revolt and go, I'm not playing this game.
Headshots for days.
So I do think that Tripwire has lost probably 30% of their original player base with how everything's playing out right now. I think the other 70%, though, which I'm in that 70%, will probably buy the game. Because, honestly, this game feels fun enough and good enough to where I'm willing to spend $40 on it. If I can convince my friends to also spend $40 on it, I think it'll be a blast. It's basically going to be like a Helldivers 2 style game, honestly. Now, it's not totally fair, because I don't think the gameplay loop is as satisfying as Helldivers 2's is. Rephrase. I don't think it's as complete as Helldivers 2's is. Helldivers 2 has this crazy ability to create, like, really fun, over-the-top, cinematic moments that, like, no other game really has, and that fact for Helldivers 2 has led to Helldivers 2 having a ridiculous amount of staying power. Because even though I kind of hate the gameplay loop sometimes in that game, and there's a lot that makes me mad about Helldivers 2, there's a lot of really awesome moments, too, that keep me coming back. Killing Floor 1 and Killing Floor 2 were less about the crazy awesome moments, and it was more about the just crazy constant fun with your friends. This game doesn't really feel like it has a lot of that. At the moment. Yeah. It does have some of them. Don't get me wrong, this game definitely has some of those moments, and if I manage to get, like, hypothetically, I got you, I got Ed, I got a couple other people to get this game and play it, I think it could genuinely be quite fun. And I think there could be genuinely some really cool moments. I have played one multiplayer match, because it's kind of hard to find multiplayer games in the beta right now. Not that, because I think it's because a lot of people who played it aren't really playing it anymore, but also because, I don't know, because I was lucky and I got a heart. I was, for a good chunk of time, the only multiplayer matches you could find in this game were normal, and normal is a snooze fest with a couple exceptions. I was lucky enough to get the one multiplayer match I found was a hard match. I played that last night with people. It was fun, but I definitely was running into the issue of I was the medic. I was just keeping people alive. Either all the enemies were dead because they were these little guys and the entire team was just wiping them out too quickly, or all the enemies were big scary tanks and I was struggling to keep the team alive. It was a really weird gameplay thing. But having something like that is fun with the squad, especially. So it definitely has the fun with friends factor. But it's just doesn't feel as good as it did in Killing Floor 1 and 2. So I think what's going to happen, so sorry, I'm trying to provide some context. I think really just getting lost in the weeds. I think that this game will have 30% of the community will just rebel and say, frick this. But I think that 30% will be replaced by a equally sized, if not larger, community of newer players. I think the newer players are going to go into this game and be like, this game's really cool. This game's really fun. It does a lot of stuff that I haven't really experienced in another game. And they'll be happy to stick around for a little bit. But I think the real problem Tripwire is going to run into is you're going to get the 70% of people who are big fans of Killing Floor games, who really like these games, who really want these games to succeed, or even if they're like me and they're like, yeah, this game feels kind of meh, but I'm giving it a shot anyways. I want it to succeed. I want it to be good. I want them to work on it and improve it. I think that the stupid the system of drip feeding content is going to lead to that 70% burning out and dropping the game, not because it's bad, not because it's abysmal, not because of, you know, insert some crazy toxic reason here, but just because there wasn't enough content to keep them interested, and the gameplay loop isn't full enough or satisfying enough, like the older games had, to keep us wanting to stick around. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of the old heads max out every class, which will probably take about 100 hours of gameplay, maybe a little longer, and then kind of drop the game before the game can actually get the proper amount of content in it. Really what this game needs is because, I mean, kind of, like I said, I kind of got off in the weeds, but really what this game needs is it needs an intensive early access cycle for a year where they are putting new enemy types in, they are refining systems and animations and stuff. And I think, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the best we're going to get is drip-fed content through seasons, and they're going to try and fix the animation problems by just adding new animations you can equip for your character. Which, sure, that can work, maybe, but it doesn't fix the core underlying issues. And so I'm hoping what's going to happen is that they're going to drip feed content over the next year. They're going to add I'm hoping that they're going to add enemy variants as seasonal things. I'm hoping that they're going to add the stalkers back in as a seasonal thing and make a big hoopla about it. But I'm also hoping while they're doing this, they're fine-tuning, they're tweaking stuff, and then after a year, everyone's going to be like, okay, now the game's done, and people are willing to come back and give it a real fair shake after they dropped it after, like, the first month, is what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to have a lot of players at launch, it's going to be financially successful in that capacity, and then it's going to lose a bunch of its player base, and it's going to have to work really hard to try and get those players back. I do think it'll be supported. I hope, my biggest concern is that it's going to lose too many players to be able to support itself long-term, though. So yeah, that kind of gets to the answer to your question of whether this is going to get supported, and whether or not I think the community is going to shoot itself in the foot. I don't think the community is going to shoot itself in the foot. This game isn't bad enough to riot over. The game's not bad enough to riot over, thankfully, but it's not good enough either to, I don't think, be able to hold longevity. And also the lack of content that I think a lot of the veterans are feeling, and the lack of polish. I don't think the new players will feel the lack of polish, and I also don't really think they'll feel the lack of content either initially, but I do think they will start feeling the lack of content after about an hour. Or not hour, after about 50 or 100 hours. I think they'll be like, start noticing that just something feels lacking in this game. Now, they're not going to really be able to put their finger on it because they haven't played the prior games. But the veterans will be able to put their finger on it. And if Tripwire can't outpace people noticing the lack of content and feeling the emptiness, if Tripwire can't outpace that, they're going to lose players before they can actually, like, quote-unquote, finish the game. I imagine they've got like a 3-year, 5-year plan for this game. But I'm worried they won't have the funding and the consistent player base if they don't really kick it into gear to release content in the next 6 months to make it to that 3-year plan. I think that covers most of my thoughts. Okay. Thanks for listening to me rant. Sounds good. Yeah, I hope that goes well.
Closing in.
I think the biggest thing for him.
Great, arriving.
No, I hope after you corrected me it was better. I don't know if it was, but did it feel less painful after that?
Let's try this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Wave's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that makes sense. Also, that makes a lot of sense because like I've been stewing on this crap for a hot minute. And so my
Okay.
brain is like
Make it easy.
my brain has like a lot of thoughts that it's been stewing on, and so it does kind of turn to me just regurgitating like a pseudo script. Which is definitely not fair to you, so I apologize for that.
Who wants a syringe?
Yeah.
Time to turn up the voltage.
Yeah, for sure.
Shock trap.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to find ways to express that better. Because I've got like, because especially with stuff like this, I've got like a huge amount of thoughts that I have been working on. I guess for lack of a better term. I've been trying to...
Reloading a second. I have to reload.
Yeah, there's... Oh, crap.
An explosion.
Are you able to see my invisible gun on screen? Yeah. Also, it'll show up. I don't know if you noticed this, but the sniper's like special ability in this game is like Yondu's arrow from Guardians 2. That makes me it cracks me up. Pew! I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. That's a fun movie. But yeah, no, I have like I mean, there's a lot about this game that just something that just kind of irks me, and it's just weird. It also is weird because the zombie game that I've been planning on trying to make has a lot of similar mechanics that they added in Killing Floor 3, and I'm like, huh. Well, that makes me feel unoriginal now. But it's also a good like view of like how to do those mechanics right if I do end up getting around to making that game. But Anyways, I'll stop ranting and let you go. But yeah, I apologize for that. I definitely, my mentality for this was definitely much more of a, I'm making a rant. And I've got a lot of thoughts I'm just going to jettison, which I apologize. I was definitely kind of in a, especially when I've been a lot better mood now, but like when we started talking, I was kind of in a weird mood. So I apologize that kind of definitely spilled over into how I was talking to you.
Don't want to fall off
Yeah. Yeah, I really like talking with you. Not. Yeah, there's definitely truth to that. I wish my gun would stop being invisible. Sorry. This is a problem. Yeah. Let me know how that goes. Maybe not. You don't have to send me a message, but. Maybe. Yeah. I'll either be still playing this. Or I'll be doing my Japanese homework. And I really should just do my Japanese homework, because my Japanese homework is not going to take that long. I'm really hoping that Edward and company hop on, but we'll see. It'd be fun to get everybody on. Yeah. You have a good one. See ya. I can literally only aim this because I've got a red dot on it. That is so funny. And also obnoxious. I've got a lot more grace for... I've got a lot more grace for this type of error. I got it. Ugh. Waste of a shock trap. Where's the crawler at? Okay. Alright. That's going on the complaint list. The fact that I can't walk over micro crawlers is retarded. I can't. Can I use words like that? We're using words like that. It's a problem. It is a serious problem. Have it. Come on. Game, come on. Oh, I'm out of heals. Frick me.
Time to turn up the voltage.
Really?
Electrify and conquer. Come fly with me.
Really? It's already underground again? I guess on the bright side, that actually led to getting hit by my arrow way more. Alright, bucko. Yeesh, invisible gun and all that crap.
Well, filled my tab for today.
Oh. Oh no, shut up. Oh. Is the currency always free? Wait, what's the point of a compensator if it does the same, if it does same and better than the compensator? Same and more than the compensator. It's like, what's the point of a compensator when it does the same but less with a suppressor? What? On a pistol? Why? Hold on. Is that's like, this is literally the Vortex AMG. Ah, so that's how you need to be during stuff. Like, alright, who did I have the most fun playing? Honestly, Fosty was... Work off brain. Oh no, the echo. You guys must be in the same room. I think the only fun thing about people moving away, and not moving away necessarily, but people kind of like moving to playing video games instead of in a common area, but instead they're like private areas, is that the echo problem is gone. It's like the only upside, but otherwise it sucked. Everybody's been leaving. No, you don't need to worry too much about it. Don't worry about me. It might just be I should do my Japanese homework. But
Okay. Looks like
I'm
you've got
playing
that
Killing
going.
Floor 3 right now. I just like talk the crap out. I just absolutely just talked Gabe's ears off earlier, ranting about it.
Readiness assessment exam. Don't think I won't ask
Yeah,
you when you
I've got so many thoughts and like half-baked thoughts, and like the entire community was like, this game, or not the entire community, but a very vocal minority of the community is like, this game's gonna suck. I think a very other vocal part of new players and not people part of the community were like, this game's gonna be great, and then like in the middle, I think, is everybody else, is most people, and they're like, I mean, it looks like it'll be okay, but like we need to play it to know. And it's kind of like the game is just like an overwhelming just mid. But like,
Our power system analysis shows that the laboratory's
yeah,
analyzer is
yeah, I'm
offline.
playing it on. I got a beta key.
No doubt.
And it's one of those things where I was like, this game's not bad. The game's actually quite fun. And I think with like friends, it would be really fun.
I'll put a sock in it.
Well, that's kind of the problem, is Killing Floor 1 is, like, incredible for what it does. Killing Floor 1 is phenomenal for what it does. Killing Floor 2 is phenomenal for what it does as well. So, like, this game, if it wants to live up to the community's expectations, also needs to be phenomenal. And the problem is, it's not phenomenal. It's got some really awesome stuff in it. It's got some really meh stuff in it, and really, it just overall just feels unfinished. Is the biggest issue. There's Isaac. Yep.
I'd like to report a noise disturbance.
I'm so happy. Oh my gosh. That's. I'm so happy I have the Discord not being recorded by my stream.
Too easy.
sorry, Edward. I keep going on rants. Essentially, this game is stuck in a limbo spot where the entire community's like, why does this game just feel so meh? Like, it's not bad, but also, it's not mind-blowing either. Really, it feels underwhelming, and I'm pretty sure it feels underwhelming because it feels unfinished. I think is the issue, is that it feels underwhelming in a number of areas because it feels unfinished. Like, what's here is polished, but like the amount of content. Okay, well that's not true. What's here gameplay-wise feels pretty polished. A lot of the animations feel rough and a number of other things, but the biggest thing is it just like overwhelmingly it just feels like an early access game where this would be a phenomenal early access game launch state. It would be incredible. It's running really well, a lot of the gameplay's there and stuff, but like there's not enough content. There's a couple Zeds are missing, so a couple enemy types are missing, it's like that's an issue, and then there's just there's also changes to the gameplay loop that people still have to figure out. It's just kind of a weird thing. I'm still probably going to try and get some other people to see if I can sucker any of you guys into playing the game. But, playing the game with me.
Hey, how's your syringe supply?
But it's definitely, it's just whelming. Which is almost worse than being underwhelming. Just being...
Give me a top.
Oh yeah, that's a thing right now.
Quiet, please. That's enough for today, big brother.
Oh dear.
That's the way.
Wait, yo! Fuck, mate.
Kill him with fire!
This country's Europeana.
Oh, crap. That's a good question. Wait, are you guys fighting bugs in the city? Oh, that's crazy. Maybe I'll hop over and join. So maybe I'll hop over and join. Oh, are you hosting? Oh, no, no, no. Yeah.
Nosy Parker.
Well, yeah, I think Jacob should host it if, Oh, okay. Never mind. Because if Edward's hosting it and everything's running fine, then that's a local issue for Jacob, not a. Ah.
Whoa, absolute perfection.
Oh, I forget those count as range. No. Why do you say strategic? Because you were doing that too last time, and it was funny.
That's like fuckery.
Wait there, guys. Straight to the head. Impressive.
Yeah, it's WASD. Although the pro gamer move is to move it to your with your arrow keys, so you can move and stratagem at the same time.
Should have this reloaded real soon. Big bone bastard. Should have called off sick today.
5 sets left. That's it.
You're bigger.
Ah, it's synchronized kamikazes. Ah.
Okay, let's go shopping.
Yeah. Isn't that the one that like damages you as you shoot it? The answer to that for all of us is yes.
Don't be a helmet.
Yeah, well, when I said kill him with fire, I probably should have said, I'm not necessarily saying use the flamethrower if you don't know how to use it. If you know how to use it, it's phenomenal. But if you don't know how to use it, it's like, see, yeah, if you don't know how to use the arc thrower, you kill your friends. If you don't know how to use the flamethrower, you get yourself killed.
That's one less flesh round.
Owie.
Au revoir, mon ami.
Oh dear. Ah.
Feeling a bit hot. We'll just fucking calm down.
It's open. Who's in the mood to spend some dosh?
I'll take it.
Nice.
Turret's up. Who needs a new vest?
Where's the turret over here? Where's the...
It's go time. Pod's closed.
Watch them scatter. What a bloody eyesore this place is.
I want to make a really niche joke, but I. Yeah, well, it's mostly just like I don't actually know if it's funny. Because like what I wanted to say was like, it's like I might run out of stims, but I'm never done stimming.
They're coming up from the ground.
That's like. Wasn't quite exactly what I was thinking. But it was something along those lines, and it's just like, I can't tell if that's funny without context. Owie.
Shut the fuck up.
What'd you say? That would necessitate a woman being on the internet. As we all know, that's not possible.
Right. Anyone have to read his last will and testament? That always makes my bollocks tingle. Top me off, Gov. You're in fast track now, lads. Turret's up. Armor for the lot of us.
Can't defend your friend if you can't defend yourself. On the back? I know that allies have to, or allies can set it off.
Free syringes. Come and get your dose.
Oh, not again.
Need anything? Pod's open.
Must All right, off you go.
Go.
Feel like I fell into a jar of marmite. Being slow.
That's not fair. Maybe you have to drop it and then activate it, actually. Okay, never mind then. Do you know how to use the interact with the backpack button? Have you tried that one? Oh. See, that's a great question, because I actually don't know off the top of my head. But I do know that there's a button for that, and you have to hold it down. And it might be Z.
Trying to wreak havoc.
Passive aggressiveness is so funny. Don't worry, guys. It's just fine. It's fine over here. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Just take your time. Oh.
Exceptional job.
Come on, when we get back, I'll do us a proper English. Sausage, baked beans, grilled tomatoes, cut the splosh, lock, stock.
Hold X. Hold X. Hold X. There's. Okay, yeah, you're done. That's what it is. Oh.